I'm almost out of lip chap. I'm almost out. Hey, hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess, and 'tis the end of the year, so you know, we're looking forward to 2026. We're looking forward to 2026, and that includes anticipated releases. Now, my list is not super long because I just haven't been keeping up, and I've just been so let down, so underwhelmed with newer releases the last couple of years that I don't make these big lists to get my hopes up and trying to like pre-order all of these books. That's not to say that you shouldn't do that or you shouldn't support authors with pre-orders. Definitely if you're interested, but just my list isn't super big, and some of these I'll try to request arcs of, and then there's really only a few that are like guaranteed that I will purchase, so I'll let you know. So anyway, let's get started. I think that I wrote them down in publication order. I'm not mindful of those things, but I tried this time. So the first one I have is a midnight pastry shop called Hua Waldong. Apologies for pronunciation, but it says by Lee Onhua, and it's supposed to be published January 13th. Now, really what got me, because some of these I discovered looking through NetGalley, and this cover is just so precious. And I heard midnight pastry shop because I love baking. So this says, a sweetly magical and uplifting novel about a woman who inherits an enchanted bakery that spirits visit on their last stop before the afterlife. So she's a 27-year-old who inherited the neighborhood bakery from her grandmother, and she's trying to keep it going for at least another month and only open it to customers from 10 p.m. until midnight. So I just thought that sounded like a really cute premise. It could be something that there's not enough there and it feels boring, or it could be like the perfect amount of cozy. It sounds cozy fantasy adjacent, which I have not found my footing in cozy fantasy, like one that I really love. But this is one I want to give a try, so I think this is one I may request from NetGalley, or if I don't get that, I would just borrow from the library. But it does sound very precious. Sounds like a good palate cleanser, so we'll see. Next is, I think, the fictional debut for Jeanette McCurdy. She 2 years ago wrote a memoir called I'm Glad My Mom Died, which I read and I recommend you reading. But this is her first fictional novel. It's called Half His Age. When she announced this, people were in a tizzy on Threads. The cover, okay, this comes out January 20th. And this says, it's a sad, funny, thrilling novel about sex, consumerism, class, desire, and loneliness. The internet, rage, intimacy, power, and the oftentimes misguided links will go in order to get what we want. So we have a student-teacher relationship. It said what she wants the most of her creative writing teacher, with the wife and the kid, the mortgage and the bills, with the dead dreams and the atrophied looks and the growing paunch. She doesn't know why she wants him. Is it his passion, his life experience, the fact that he knows books and films? Or perhaps it's just enough that he sees her when no one else does. Oh, yikes. So this made me think of My Dark Vanessa, which I read and I thought was a really good book. It's you know, a tough read because that also is a teacher-student relationship. So I don't know. There was a lot of descriptors there, but I want to give it a try. I don't know if she had a co-writer for her memoir, I don't remember, or a ghostwriter, but I liked the writing of the memoir, so I'm hoping that same writing shows through in this here novel. On the Sunday She Picked Flowers by Yaya Schofield. This is supposed to come out January 27th. The cover really drew me in. This is another I found on NetGalley. I don't know if this will work for me because Gothic horror normally doesn't work for me, but this says a Southern Gothic debut, although I thought it said fantasy. Okay, it does also say fantasy there, but it said like Gothic fantasy on NetGalley. But this says that she escapes into the woods, the uncanny woods of Georgia, and must contend with ghosts, haunts, and the most dangerous of all, truth about herself. And the ghost and haunts part really drug me in, because that's always fascinating when it's in a story. So she fled her childhood home. She thought she was escaping her abusive mother, and then she ends up in this house that is haunted. Its violent history haunts her, and I'm like, again, another one. Might be a good one from the library. Just sometimes Gothic TV and movie really work well for me. Sometimes, most of the times, I find Gothic books slow and they don't keep my interest. But I'm willing to give this one a try though. We'll see. Into February, we have Amari and the Metalwork Menace. Now, this is part of the Supernatural Investigations series, the fourth one. The third one came out last year, and I thought it was only going to be a trilogy. JK, it's going to be 5 books. So the first one was Amari and the Night Brothers. I love this series. It's a middle grade fantasy series. Amari, our main character, her brother goes missing, and in the process of looking for him, she discovers like this other world. It's like magical world, and it's kind of like, it's not a magic school, it's like a magic summer camp. And it's just fun. It's a good time. I like the writing. I love the stories. And I originally, once I finished the third book and then found out there was going to be 2 more, I was like, but I love them and I want to support Internet Cousin BB. So I'm going to read it. That one's February 24th. And I love this purple cover. We love our girl Amari. I'm gonna read them all. The next one is expected March 31st, and it is The Night We Met by Abby Jimenez. Now this one says Say You'll Remember Me, the number 2, which I did read this year and was disappointed in, but that was only 1 out of the 4 books that I've read by this author. 3 of them I loved, 5 stars, 1 3-star. So I'm gonna give this one another try. I think there's a sample chapter in the back of Say You'll Remember Me. I didn't read it though because I was mad with Abby when I finished the first one. So I haven't looked at this yet. It looks like there's an animal on the cover, which there already is. And I already can't remember the people who were in Say You'll Remember Me, but I'm assuming that they were in the book somehow. So this says, in everyone's life, there's a split-second decision that can change everything. For Larissa, it came when choosing the guy to ride home with after a concert. That night, she had no idea she'd meet the perfect man. So then they're great together, co-parenting Yorkie. But it said, but Chris isn't the one who drove Larissa home all those months ago. Chris is her boyfriend's best friend. All Chris wants is for Larissa to be happy, standing by on the sidelines, slowly killing him, but making a move would destroy someone else, and he's just not that guy. That has the potential to have the right level of angst, turmoil that I want. I'm gonna read it. Yeah, that's an interesting premise. We'll see. So this one is nonfiction, and I had looked at some of my favorite authors to see if they had anything coming out. And this is by Patrick Radden Keefe, who wrote, I already forgot what it's called, Empire of Pain. He's written other ones, and I own them. I haven't read them yet, okay. Anyway, this one is called London Falling, a mysterious death in a gilded city and a family search for truth. So at first I was like, oh, I don't know. And then I read the synopsis, and it was something that I saw mentioned briefly about a young man who mysteriously fell to his death from a luxury apartment building on the banks of the Thames. But when his grieving parents begin their desperate quest to understand how their son died, they make a terrible discovery that he'd been living this fantasy life, posing as the son of a wealthy Russian oligarch. And I heard about this, I think it was like a TikTok, and I only, it was maybe a couple minutes long, and I was like, what? So Patrick Radden Keefe really does a really good job in his research, and I like his storytelling, and so I think this will be very interesting to read from him. This one's supposed to come out April 7th, but I was like, wow, that I wouldn't have thought of that story since I saw it on TikTok so long ago, and then that refreshed my memory, and I was like, oh my god, that is so interesting, because usually I'll see something like that and I'm like, let me go down a rabbit hole, and I didn't, so it's gonna be delivered to me. And my most anticipated book of the year, I am so honored to be holding an ARC in my hand. This comes out May, I think it's supposed to be May 19th, and it is The Tapestry of Fate by Shannon Chakraborty. Thank you, Harper Voyager, for this. Oh my god. This is the second book after the Adventures of Amina al-Sarafi. And this, again, it comes out in May. So I think Amina 1 came out in 2023. Or was it 2024? It came out in 2023. So 3 years later, although I like to joke that, oh my god, I want this book, but I would prefer the author to take their time. But Amina al-Sarafi is a pirate and she's in her 40s, but she's retired. She's taking care of her daughter, but something calls her back. And she has to return to the high seas, and she grabs her crew and they go on adventures, and it is so good. And I remember a lot of what happened. I would need to refresh myself at the ending, because at the ending you're like, and that explains what the next books are going to be about. So oh my god, I'm so excited to have this. I don't know if I'm going to reread the entire book or if I'm going to try to find a recap or maybe just like read the last part. But so now, no, I can't tell you that. Anyway, at the end of the first book, something is revealed, and it's telling you what's going to happen to the next one, because basically she has another task that she has to do. Oh, I love Shannon. I love Shannon. So I'm so excited. This is definitely my most anticipated release. I already pre-ordered the UK version. I'll get the US version because I have both for the first one, but I was like, I need to get the UK version. Because Amina was 5 stars, okay? 5 stars. Next up, The Unicorn Hunters by Catherine Arden, the author of The Bear and the Nightingale, so the Winter Night trilogy, also The Warm Hands of Ghost. I love The Bear and the Nightingale, or the Winter Night trilogy. Love, love, love. And then I really did enjoy The Warm Hands of Ghost. That one's a World War I story. I really still enjoyed that one, not as much as the Winter Night trilogy, but I'm definitely wanting to read this one because so far I've had a good track record with Catherine Arden. So this one's supposed to come out June 2nd, and it says, with her country's future and her own life at stake, an orphan duchess must journey into a world of myth and discover a power that may be her salvation or her demise. So in this enchanting new novel, so she was a child when her realm was invaded, her home besieged, and her royal father driven to his death. Now her treasury is empty, her land occupied by enemies, and she is ordered under threat of renewed war to become queen of her conquerors and marry the king of France. But she had promised her father Brittany would never be conquered. Defiantly, she betroths herself in secret to France's greatest enemy. But in a world where courts may spy on each other by magic, there's only one way to solemnize this illicit union. Anne takes her court deep into a legendary forest where the coarse diviner's skill cannot reach. Oh, she's trying to do a secret wedding, which is her only hope of salvation. But when against all hope, a unicorn appears, and a stranger out of legend stumbles from the trees and falls at her feet. She's plunged into a world of enchantment where a doomed sovereign might find the power to change her own and her country's destiny, or be lost in the shadows forever. I was already on board because of the author. That sounds interesting, because we had the Winter Night trilogy was giving us Russian folklore, then the Warm Hands of Ghost was giving us World War I history and a story in there, and now we're getting a little France, getting a little mystical, magical France. I'm into it. Again, June 2nd. Now this next one has a question mark beside it. So V.E. Schwab, we just have such a weird, there are 2 V.E. Schwab books that I love. Vicious and The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. And then others where I thought they were dull and boring. I love Vicious, and at the time it seemed like it was a standalone. Then Vengeful came out, and I was like, oh, I loved Vicious, so I'm gonna love Vengeful. Well, I DNF'd Vengeful. Granted, when was that? 2018? But now it's announced there's a 3rd one. It's called Victorious. Oh, it says the triumphant conclusion, because it's mentioning Victor. Was Victor in Vengeful? I don't know. So that one's I don't know, but that one is coming out. Victorious is the name of it. October 6th. I'll have to wait for some feedback and see. But I'm kind of like, You know what I'm saying? So if you loved Vicious and you read Vengeful, tell me. Like, do you think it's worth trying to reread? Or should I just give up and keep Vicious as a standalone in my mind? Let me know. These last two, I don't have a date for. Well, this one has a tentative date, but I don't know if that's confirmed yet. Taipei Story by R.F. Kuang. Yes, Calabasas was not my favorite. However, still got a good track record with me. So I'm going to read it. I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be the name of it, but it says... See, it says September 2026, but then also it says October 31st. So I don't know. There's not a cover when this is supposed to come out, but it's supposed to be is it supposed to be a love story? A coming of age story set in a language school in Taiwan. That's it. There's not much there. The main character studying abroad in Taipei doesn't learn Chinese before her grandfather unexpectedly passes. There's not much about it. Just know that Rebecca's putting it out. I'm gonna read it. And we'll see if I like it. And the last one is, I don't even know if this is coming out in 2026. There's a title, but there's not a date. And it's the second book after the Raven Scholar. So this trilogy is called Eternal Path Trilogy. The second one on Goodreads is the title, The Fox in Winter. But there is no date. But I would like it, please, and thank you. Just kidding. Again, I don't want authors to rush. No idea if it's coming out now or 2026 or 27 or 28. But I'm just like, I'm gonna keep my eyes on it. But yeah, those are really the ones that I'm anticipating. And obviously there's always probabilities that things get pushed back. Some things pop up that weren't announced. So there could be more things as we get into the new year that arise. And if there's enough, maybe I'll make another video. But again, I don't keep that many things. Like, I don't get that hype about that many books to come because of how publishing has been lately. But I do have, when I was looking today, a few books that are like my anti-anticipated. Like, I saw them listed and I was like, no. How many? At 4. In Her Own League by Liz Tomford. She just puts a bad taste in my mouth. So every time I see her books, I'm like, oh, her. I don't know what it's about. Some kind of romance. Broken Dove by Danny Francis. This is Silver Elite 2. I DNF'd the first one, so I have no desire to read the second one. And the covers are fugly. I know that doesn't matter. Like, I was just saying on Sprints that I would prefer ugly covers with a good interior, but I thought the cover of Silver Elite was ugly and the interior was terribly written. So, double homicide. Deadbeat, which is the third Alex Stern novel. The Ninth House books. Galaxy Stern. No. I thought that I was going to read the second one because I wanted to know what happened to Darlington. And then people told me, no, I don't want to read the second one. So I'm not going to do that. And I don't know how many books she's putting out in the series, but I'm good. I thought there was a fourth one, but it's just those 3 at the moment. I'm sure there's plenty others, but I just saw those specifically today and I was like, ugh, no. So please tell me what you're anticipating for 2026, and especially if you think I would be interested or if I've missed something by an author that I really like. So let me know. Thanks for watching. Stay blessed, hydrated, moisturized, and sunscreen. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.